Requirements for public-owned enterprises reforms have been a slow process, hence the lack of progress or improvement within state-owned enterprises.
Major SOE reforms in other countries, we benchmark quite a bit, so we love to learn from other countries and to learn more from their mistakes than what they managed to get right. These reforms take time, so it is not something that happens overnight. SOEs are unique animals. The reason why they are unique is because they have a state as a shareholder. And that is not completely normal. The state is also a shareholder on behalf of the public, hence our preference for the term public enterprises and not just state-owned enterprises. Now, just briefly, I made a list. We've been speaking, and that's a question. And always sounds funny when we have this discussion on what is a state-owned or public enterprise in Namibia. We've got a list of, so at the moment, recognized and according to the schedule in our legislation, we've got 71. But fact is, when all government ministries, offices, ministries, agencies, all financial institutions, all commercial enterprises, all statutory institutions, all higher education institutions, all extra budgetary funds, social security funds, special purpose vehicles, and public trading entities are included, we get close to 300 entities. I'm saying that because these are 300 entities which could potentially be regarded as public enterprises. That's exactly what we don't want.
When the Ministry of Public Enterprises was formed, government had to consider what the ministry is dealing with and how to go about it. But still, there are some loopholes in the system.
Very important principle for all governments, and in our case, we've managed to get away with this for a long time without too much damage, is to define the role of the state when it comes to public enterprises as the policy maker, the owner, and the regulator. As soon as you combine those functions under any one authority, it creates an environment for a conflict of interest. That's where, and look, these are words which I use globally, political interference. Political interference, not corruption. Political interference, we're going to talk about those, are usually for good reasons, that the state wants to do certain things through a public enterprise and often does not regard or do not regard the potential economic and operational implications thereof. So those three functions, the state policymaker, owner, and regulator, had to be split or has to be split.
It is this split of power and responsibilities that the Ministry of Public Enterprises wants to be clearly separated.
You know about the hybrid governance model where we are splitting those, all the commercial entities to be transferred to one owner, which is the Ministry of Public Enterprises, and then all of these other non-commercial entities to remain under the various line ministries. So this first part is my excuse for non-performance, which comes to the next point is we need legislation for that. The legislation is not in place, so I completely take responsibility for the previous slides, which are spot on, and I'm going to make it worse with sharing even more details of how bad it is. But without this law in place, we, as a ministry, we can't perform these reforms and we can't centralize those ownership functions. But we are almost there, so it's with the Cabinet Committee on Legislation, and I really anticipate in this year of reckoning that it would be promulgated very soon.
The critical aspect is when the state as shareholder is failing to make the work of public-owned enterprises smooth sailing.
We've not managed to be a professional shareholder for our public enterprises. And we need to fix that, and that's what's being done, and that's why our president created this ministry, and that is our focus.
Incompetent boards and turnaround strategies that are not working are some of the priorities to be focused on in order to see light at the end of the tunnel. Timo Andreas, for Business Today, Windhoek.